Let's talk speaking assessments. Over the years, I've changed a lot about the way I do my speaking assessments, and today, let's talk about speed dating speaking. A speed dating speaking assessment works great if you have seating that can be moved into a small circle and in groups of 4 to 6 students. One of my favorite things about speed dating speaking is that the pressure is off the kids. They're not presenting for the whole class. They're just presenting for a small group, and the group can actually help the students out as they go along by asking them questions to help them keep going during the whole time. So here are my quick 5 pointers for a speed dating assessment. First, you need a topic that your kids are very familiar with, because they're not going to be able to speak for a long amount of time unless they are really familiar with the topic that they're speaking on. They want to be able to speak with no notes and no crutches, other than maybe we sometimes brainstorm the vocabulary that we've used in the unit and put it up on the smartboard before we start. Because a word like, we're just doing our speaking assessment on agriculture, and words like monocultivo y polycultivo are things that maybe they won't remember those long term, but I need them to know them for the speaking assessment, and it's okay if they don't. But knowing a little bit about agricultura and the word farm, those are important to the community we live in. Number 2 is to have the group size be somewhere between 4 and 6 students, because that is a really comfortable size. Students don't get too anxious when they're in small groups, and that lets them keep the affective filter really low. And that's what you're going for. A group that is a size that kids won't get so nervous that they're unable to talk. Set a timer for students to talk. My timers are usually 2 minutes for the presentation. So today we were talking about farming. Students had prepared their farms. They talked for 2 minutes about their own farm. If they struggled to fill the 2 minutes, I told the group that they could ask questions to kind of spur the student to have a little more to say during the time. At the end of the 2-minute timer, then I started a 1-minute timer for a question and answer period to build that interpersonal communication skill at the end of the speed dating assessment. So they were getting a presentational and an interpersonal element to their speaking grade. And the groups were so great working together and encouraging each other to talk for that full 2-minute time. Have a rubric that's consistent with what we know about language acquisition. We know that the national average has consistently fallen on the intermediate low to midline, and on that line, students still make a lot of mistakes, and students don't gain any clarity in the present, past, and future tenses until they hit that advanced low level. They're not going to use those without making very many mistakes until they have gone to college and completed a study abroad, is the likely scenario. That's how our students test in Illinois anyway. In a 4-year program, we probably aren't going to get them there. So when you think about your rubric, consider more, are they talking comprehensively about the topic? You know, do the mistakes make it so hard to understand that you and the other students can't understand what they're saying? If they don't, consider adjusting your rubric to reflect the fact that they successfully communicated for 2 minutes in their target language about a topic that you guys have studied, and that literally is intermediate level language. You won't believe how far that will go in getting your students to feel comfortable and confident presenting again and again in your class. And if you're worried about grading, number 5 is, don't forget that if you don't think that you can get around to, so in a group of 4 to 6, if you have a group of 24 in class or a group of 30 in class, you're going to have 4 to 5 groups to hear each 2-minute interval. All you have to do is walk from group to group listening. You can set them up in pods where you have a circle to walk around in the center of them, or you can set them up with a recording device in the center. If you have Chromebooks or iPads, you can have them record if you really want to go back and listen word to word to everything that they say. But what I've found is that it's pretty easy to hear all you need to hear. You know your students really well. By the time we get to this point of the year, you're pretty certain how students are going to perform on any assessment that you give them. And so if you know that there's someone who struggles, you can kind of come nearer their group when it's their turn and listen and offer them a little help and scaffolding. Or if you know that there's somebody who might goof off and not say anything, you can be standing with a little proximity to their group to encourage them that they can't get away with it because you're right there. And the majority of the class continues on task and on topic. Or you can have them put that recording device in the center of the group and then just never listen to it. Because as long as you listen to a little piece, if you're really worried that group B was not doing anything, if you pop up and say, oh, hey, I heard so-and-so say this, then they think you listened to the whole thing. But secret's safe with me that you didn't really listen to it all. So a speed dating type of speaking assessment, it only takes about 30 minutes of your class period. It gets everyone in the whole class finished. It's low stress and low pressure, and it is a really great way to evaluate what students have learned during the unit and to get both a presentational and interpersonal element into one speaking assessment. I hope you like these tips. See you next time.